Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. We welcome all of you to the SkillsFuture Month in collaboration with Smart Nation 2021, organized by SkillsFuture Singapore and Smart Nation Singapore. Our speakers, Simon and Hong Vu, will be sharing the topic Intro to Coding, HTML and CSS. Throughout the session, please feel free to post your questions in the Q&A tab you see on the right panel. Do note, questions will be moderated. Simon and Hong Vu, please go ahead.
All right. Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for taking time off your busy day to join us today. It's actually lunchtime right now, so we hope that you have something yummy to accompany you as we go through this session. So my name is Hu, and I'm the marketing manager for General Assembly. So I lead all marketing activities for GA in Singapore. So just in case you haven't heard of General Assembly before, we are actually a global tech education company, and we really focus on helping people to reskill and upskill themselves in order to transition into some of the most in-demand tech fields. So things like coding, of course, being one of them, data design, digital marketing, as well as product management. So just in terms of numbers, we actually are celebrating our 10-year anniversary this year, but we already have more than 30 global campuses worldwide, of course, Singapore being one of the representatives from the APAC region, but we also have more than 70,000 course alumni, 500,000 workshop attendees. So this refers to the shorter workshops that people come in, take a quick workshops with us, and then they can be on their way. And we also have more than 20,000 expert instructors like Simon who join us pretty much on a daily basis to share their skills, share their experience, and help everyone upskill in order to fit in with what the current workforce is asking of us. Yeah, so just some quick note on GA Singapore. So GA in of itself is 10 years old, but GA in Singapore, we are celebrating our 6-year anniversary this year. So we were established in mid-2015, but we already have more than 1,000 immersive, which is full-time, as well as part-time graduates who graduated from our programs. We also have more than 5,000 workshop participants and more than 40,000 community event participants. So in terms of partnerships, we have a very strong partnerships with IMDA, which is the Infocom Media Development Authority, who really subsidize some of our full-time courses to be able to remove that financial barriers to help people to make career switches. We also have very strong partnerships with the employers as well as the tech community. Yeah, so I just want to come in and also introduce some of our career transforming courses. So these refer to pretty much very intensive 3-month courses for people looking to make a complete career change. So let's say you're currently working in the hospitality industry, for example, but you want to make a switch into to software development or into UX design, then you can actually come and take one of our 12 weeks or 24 weeks full-time courses. So to help you make that smooth. So these are some of our courses over here. We have courses in data science, digital marketing, software engineering, as well as user experience design. And if you're not looking for that drastic of a career change, but you're looking to, upskill yourself in order to fit in better with what your current work is asking of you, and maybe you find that part-time is a much more feasible options for you, then we also do offer part-time courses. So these, of course, some of the topics are exactly the same as our full-time, but these are topics that we also offer in part-time formats. So things like data analytics, of course, there's also digital marketing, product management, as well as Python programming. So whatever tech fields that you're looking for, we probably already have a course in there, and we are ready to help you to upskill and reskill yourself. And I leave our contact details over here. I will also drop that in the chat in a little bit. So if you have any other questions at all regarding our classes, our courses, our events, you can just drop us a note at that email over there, and we'll be sure to get back to you and advise you on which one of our offering will fit your learning needs the best. And also a shameless plug to please follow us on our social media platforms. So we post about a lot of great and exciting things that we're doing at GA Singapore. So talking about exciting things, I'm very excited to be able to share with you this event series over here that is actually ongoing. Today is the 3rd day of the event series, but there's still a lot of events coming up. So I will still want to share that with you. So the event series is called Made in Singapore, which is actually happening from 10 to 20th of August. So as you can tell from the name, it is really a series for us to celebrate Singapore National Day, but also to celebrate all of the great people, all of the great brands, great people doing great things in our little red dot to be able able to put us on the global map. So it is a 2-week-long free virtual event series, really showcasing these pioneers, these streamers behind some of Singapore's foremost homegrown local brands. So we cover a variety of different industries. We have sessions in YouTube, for example. We have one in manufacturing, in fashion, in beauty, in tech, in investment. So a whole host of different events. So if you have some time over the next this week and the next week, then please be sure to RSVP for the session. All of them are free. You can just reserve your virtual seat at the website over there, which is madeinsingaporeGA.com. And and also just a very quick plug as well. So we do have courses. We do have much longer courses, but if you find that shorter form workshops work better for you, then we also do have our shorter remote workshops. So these are usually 2.5 hours to 6 hours. So you can just use this discount code over here to take 25% off only our short paid workshops, not our courses. Yeah, and that's all from me. I will not take any more of your time. I will pass over the time to the expert of the day, Simon, to walk us through, an intro to coding. Over to you, Simon.
Thanks, Hong. Okay, so I'm usually I do this presentation in about 2 hours, so I'm trying to shorten this a little bit to fit in the 1 hour science stream. So I'm going to skip some slides as well as some activities that are normally involved with this session, right? Okay, so let me go forward. Okay, so by the end of this session, hopefully you'll be able to tell what is the purpose of a web developer and what do they actually do on a day-to-day. All right, and this is also a hands-on practicing workshop. So we will actually let you try a little bit, all right, depending on time constraints, HTML and CSS, okay? And at the end, if you think that you can see a pathway to learning coding and to do a career switch or to maybe learn a new skill set, maybe you can show you how to do this, all right? Okay, so in concrete terms, this is what we're covering, okay? So we're covering what is web development, what's the difference between the backend and the front end, and what's the basis of HTML and CSS, and where do you go from here? Okay, just a note that this is actually an intro class. So if you already know programming or you already know coding, then you might find this is a little bit too easy for you, all right? But having said that, hopefully you might learn something new, all right? Because not everybody knows everything, not even myself, okay? And you'll be given a chance to code, right? So this is important. If we have time, we will definitely give you a little bit of time to do some of the codings by yourself, okay? And okay, so the other thing is that we'll be doing Q&A. So if you have any questions, just feel free to post them in the Q&A, and when there ever breaks, me and Hong will just answer the questions anyway. Okay, so what is web development? Okay, from the outside, right, if you didn't look right, web development looks like this magic skill. People just magically do things and then a website appears, okay? All right, just like Harry Potter in this movie, okay? But in reality, it's not like that, okay? In reality, what we are doing is we are actually just editing text files, right? As you can see here on the left-hand side. We are coding or programming, and that basically just means we are writing text. We're writing text in a specific format. And the other thing that we do is that we will try to fix problems because the computers are very rigid. So you have to write your code in a specific manner so that the computer understands what you're trying to do. And if you fail to do that, then you have problems. Then you have to try and fix them, and hopefully don't cry too much. Okay. So web development is the creation and management of both websites and web-based applications. This also includes your mobile phone applications, especially those that not the ones that you natively on your phone, but when you use your phone to go to a website, right? Because if you notice, some phones on your website look a little bit different from the websites that you see on your laptop or your desktop, okay? So we are going to define the difference between the front end and the back end, okay? So the front end is more or less the look and feel, everything that you visually see in your web browser or your application or your phone. So if you're at your browser now, all right, if you go to a web page, what you see on the web page is considered the front end, okay? So the back end is how it actually works, okay? So when you communicate with the back end, everything is communicated between the database as well as the web browser. So this will be things like, for example, when you look at your savings account, you actually have to go to the back end to look at your real savings account, which is stored in the bank's information, right? So the front end will have to talk to the back end, and the back end will return back the information, and that's how you can see. Okay, so just a closer look at the front end. The front end powers the visuals and directions, right? So this includes the structure of the website. it also includes making the website look good, right? Especially when you're viewing on the phone versus your laptop, because as you know, your phone screen is a lot smaller, or your tablet screen is a lot smaller than your laptop. So we need to rearrange elements so that it makes it easier. Okay, so maybe like I said, it's a bit easier if we use a concrete example. So this is an example of what you see, right? So later we'll dive into this a little bit more. So for now, the front end code is what you're seeing in yours on the screen. Okay, the front end is made out of a few parts. 3 parts mainly, right? As you can see, there's this part called the HTML, which we call the structure. So if you think in terms of an analogy, it could be the bones of the skeleton of your web page. Okay, so if you are a front end, then the bones part will be considered HTML. Okay, so the bones part is very boring, just white and black, right? The CSS adds the style and the appearance. Okay, so as you can see, the picture of Deadpool, right, will look a lot nicer if you style it with red color and black colors as well, right? So that's the CSS portion. Then the last part is the JavaScript portion, which adds the actions to it. Otherwise, your website will be quite static. I don't know how many of you have been around the times when, in the early 2000s, when websites were mostly quite static, right? So there's very little animation and stuff. So that's usually done using JavaScript. Okay, so as you can see here, the HTML is to tell the browser what should be displayed on the website. The CSS is the style that you add to the content, and the JavaScript creates the interactive elements. In this class, unfortunately, because of time constraints, we won't be able to do JavaScript. We'll only be doing HTML and CSS, right? So you'll be basically building the structure of the website as well as making it look nice. Okay, so let's take a closer look at the backend since we finished looking at the front end. The backend is all the things that you don't see that make the front end work. It's basically the logic and the architecture, all right? So for example, if you're looking at the idea of transferring money from your bank account, so the back end will make sure that you can't transfer more money than you actually have in your bank account, right? So the front end won't do that. It's more of the back end. So that's the logic behind the scenes. If you are going the body example, the back end will be your internal organs, right? They keep your body functioning, but you don't really see them until you need them, okay? So let's take a look at how it all relates using this pictorial format, okay? So what happens if this user that you're looking at clicks onto their checking account? Okay, you can see here that the HTML, which is the front end, communicates with the back end. Okay, in our example, can you just annotate a little bit? This example here, we are saying that this is Python. Okay, it can be different languages, which you'll see later, all right? But let's take a look and see how this continues. So our backend will talk to a server, right? So this server is a machine working somewhere. Let's say, for example, if you're talking about a bank, maybe like DBS, for example, then the machine will be on their premise or somewhere else where they have access to, right? So this is information that is stored inside this machine. So they will take the information and basically pass it back to you, right? So you can see this little arrow here, right, which shows that the information from the machine is passed back to you into your front end. Okay, so when that happens, okay, by the way, I said, as you can see, you can see this loading symbol. It looks like it takes quite long. It depends on your internet connection, but usually it'll be quite fast, especially if it's a local website. So, okay, so after that, then you can clearly see this is the information from the checking account. So this round trip is what happens in a typical web application. But if you only have the front end without the back end, that means you don't have this portion here, right? You're missing this portion here. Then what happens is that this will be just a fake website. You can see your accounts, but it won't be real money because the real money is stored somewhere else. It's not stored inside your browser, right? Okay, so let me clear the drawings. Okay, so as an example, these are the languages that are in the backend, okay? These are always evolving. They're always new and upcoming languages, right? Okay, for example, maybe just like to illustrate. So I think you heard from Hong that I'm teaching the SCI, which is the software engineering portion of our immersive course. So what happened was that usually we used to teach Ruby last time, right? And Rails, right? But because of shifting market forces, we looked at the companies that are employing people, because ultimately our goal is to get you're employed, right? So when I get my students to study something, I don't want them to study it just for academic purpose. Their goal is after the course, they should be employable by somebody who wants to employ them So we have to make sure that whatever we teach is applicable in the market space. So in our case, what we have done is that we have shifted to Python. So instead of using Ruby, we are now using Python. All right. And this would hopefully help our graduates be more employable, right? So things shift along the way. In some cases, like PHP used to be quite very popular, maybe about 10 plus years ago. But I think recently this has been going down quite a fair bit in compared to, say, something like Python. Of course, some things don't change as well. I don't know how many have heard of Java, but Java is a very popular language. It has been around for 20 years, and a lot of systems still run on Java, and they are still working fine. Okay. Okay, so now we're going to deep dive a little bit more into the different parts. So remember I said the front end was made out of HTML, CSS, as well as JavaScript, which we're not covering. So we're going to look a little bit closer at what HTML is and how does it interact with everything we have. So, okay, so this is a typical website. Okay, we are using New York Times as an example. Okay, so without HTML, a website is nothing, all right? The HTML is the bones of the front end. It provides the structure and the look of the website, okay? This includes, okay, the page headers. So you can see these headers that you see here, which are here as well as here. These are all provided by HTML. All right. This also includes HTML also provides the text of the body as well as the size of the font. So this the fonts here that you see, where they are placed is also defined by HTML. Another surprising thing for some people is that because I said HTML is sort of like bones, right? So you might think that it's only the boring stuff. Okay, but actually images as well as their placements are also part of HTML. So how do you load an image like this picture here or this picture here, right? It's also done using HTML. And lastly, all right, something very ubiquitous in the web, right, is this one, your hyperlinks. So if you notice, maybe I'll just go back very quickly. You notice that we added the hyperlinks here. I'm sorry. Yeah, these hyperlinks that you see. So these links, when you click, they'll go to different pages, right? So these are also controlled by HTML. Okay, so that's a theoretical overview of everything. Let's look at how do we actually write HTML. Okay, HTML is made of text, okay? So as you can see, on the right-hand side, these are text, okay? We call them, there are different names for them, but let's call them carets or angle brackets. Okay, so this is usually found, okay, because we're going to practice this is actually found on your keyboard next to the M below the K and L, right, if you're using a standard keyboard, right? So these are found there, okay. So the text basically tell the browser how to format the content. So if you look closely, all right, this is an example of a tag. Okay, and the result of this will be what you see here, hello world, all right? Okay, on the next slide, I will explain in more detail how do you actually write this, because it's quite important, otherwise you won't be able to get the right result. Okay, let's take a look at this one, all right? So as you can see here, there is a opening tag as well as so there's an opening tag as well as a closing tag. Okay, so what's the difference? The difference is just, okay, the difference is very minor. It's just this extra slash here. So a closing tag includes this extra slash at the back. Okay, we call the whole thing an element, all right? So this whole thing is called an element. So this opening tag has a tag name. You'll notice that the same tag name is also referenced at the back, except that they added this extra closing tag. Okay. Okay. So okay, maybe I just put the example here. Okay. Sorry. So this was the example that you saw on the previous page. Okay. Give me a while. I'll type this out. Okay. Okay. So if you compare this example with what you saw, you can clearly see that this opening tag refers to this one here, and the closing tag refers to this one here. The content is this portion here. And you can tell that this is the closing tag because there's this extra little slash behind it. Okay. Okay, so these are the rules that we that is needed for building HTML. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to let you try to do this, okay? So let me just clear this for a while. By the way, if you have any questions, do feel free to post, right? Usually at this stage, I get a lot of questions. Okay, so right, so we're going to do that, all right? So I'm going to show you how to do this, okay? I'm going to paste this into the chat. Just give me a while. Okay, so this is a CodePen. Okay, so I'm going to just open it here as well. Let me paste and go. Okay, sorry, let me just make my screen a little bit bigger so I can squeeze everything inside. Okay. Okay, so this is CodePen. All right, so this CodePen is a platform that we use to practice coding. Okay, it's not really a web page, so you can't really publish this to the web, all right? But it gives us a chance to practice some HTML and CSS. Okay, so let's take a look. Okay, so when you first load the page, you will see this. Okay, as I said, this is divided into a few different areas. One of them is HTML. There's also CSS as well as JavaScript. Okay, and this page here, this part here represents what you're going to see. Okay, so this part is like your browser. Okay, because we are practicing this, what I want to do is we want to just focus on the HTML side. So we need more text here. So what you're going to do is you're going to close these two buttons. So if you haven't done so, please go to this CodePen and just click it. You should get to the exact same website that I'm looking at. And what you want to do is you want to drag the divider. So this is the divider. You can drag it and you can put it all the way to the right-hand side. Okay. And you can do the same for this one. Okay, so that will leave you with just the HTML. Okay, you can drag this as well, all right, if you need more space up and down, okay, but I'll just leave this down here first for now, right? Okay, so maybe, okay, let me know if you have problems. I think this should work, okay, assuming you're connected to the, excuse me, you're connected to the internet, you should be able to see this, right? Okay, all right, so let's move on. Okay, so let me just go back to the slides. Okay. Okay, so remember we were talking about text just now, right? Without HTML, as you can see here, right? This is just text, right? If you just type this into a web page, all right, what happens is that you see this. Okay, so all the text will render at the same level. What we want to do is want to create hierarchy and structure to our website. So we want to use headers and paragraphs to denote them all, right? So how do we do that in HTML? Let's take a look at this example here. Okay. Let's see. Okay, so again, very clearly, you can see, okay, that there are three different types of headings as well as paragraphs. Okay, so these two are headings. This is a heading as well as this one down here. All right, these are headings. Paragraphs are this P. All right, so as computer programmers, we don't like to type too much, so that's why our acronyms are shortened. We love acronyms a lot. Okay, so let's take a look. As you can see here, okay, I'll use this example. This is the opening tag. This is the closing tag. Again, how do we tell? Because there's this little backslash here, right? So everything that you put in between is the content, like you can see here. So even for a paragraph, you can see that that is true, right? The opening tag is here, the closing tag is here, all right? And this is the content. Okay, so if you get this, all right, then what happens here is that what we want you to do is that we want you to come back to this intro to coding one, and we want you to change this website to look like my next slide, which is this one. Okay, on that note, because it's a bit hard for me to keep flipping back and forth, I'm also going to paste in the chat a cheat sheet, all right, so you can refer to it, okay? So there's a Google Drive cheat sheet. You can just, it's a view one. Okay, you can take a look, right? It basically looks like, I'll just show you. It looks like this, so that you can get an overview of, yeah, you can get an overview of all the notes that I just showed you without me having to keep flipping back and forth. Okay, so what we want to do is that we want your website to look like this. Okay, so this should be what you see at the bottom when you have completed step 1, all right, which is to add headers and paragraphs to this CodePen. Okay, I'll give you maybe I think you're quite good. Let's take 2 minutes to do this. Okay, so now it's 12:28. Let's come back at 12:30. All right. In the meantime, I'll probably play some radio. All right, so you can. Okay, yeah, so in interest of time, unfortunately, I do have to continue. Okay, so let's show you how to do this. Okay, so as you can see, if you look at this one, you can see that the first one, my first website is sort of bigger, it's a header, same as the other one, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to make this a header. So to do that, if you look at the cheat sheet, the headers are denoted as H1 to H6. An example is what you see here. So we'll try and follow the example. We'll just put the H1 here. Oops, did I type wrongly? Right, so we'll put a H1 here as well as put a H1 at the back like this. Okay, so okay, just as an example. So sometimes you might type the wrong thing. So you notice I'm showing you, if I made a mistake, the back doesn't match the front, you'll see that everything now becomes all awesomely big, right? Which is not a good thing. So what should we do next? We should try to look and see what did we type wrongly, right? So this is a mistake. Okay, so I'm going to come here and change this. So let's say we change this to H1, right? And you can see that after some time, the bottom part will reload. And now you can see that this is now the header that you get. It's very easy to make a mistake, okay? Like, okay, you might think that that sounds like something you won't do, right? But for example, another mistake you could end up is you forgot this extra slash. So if you did that, then you'll notice everything also becomes awesomely big again. All right, so it's important to make sure that you add the right thing, okay? So in this case, even, okay, without this one, you can see that this doesn't work as well. So remember the crying picture of that you saw at the start? Is very likely to make a mistake, especially even though we are just typing text, because the computer only interprets exactly what we type. All right, so this is one. Okay, so that's one thing. Okay, so the other one is a paragraph. So we will do the same for the paragraph. Okay. And we'll do that as well. Okay. You might think nothing changed here, all right? But I think it should load. Yeah, okay. So now you notice that now this is a paragraph. Okay. And the third one is a header, but you notice this header is a little smaller than the one on top. So if you look at our cheat sheet, you can see that headers go from H1 to H6. Okay. All right. So what we could do is that instead of putting a H1, we can decide to put a H2 here. Okay. And as usual, like I said, you have to make sure that the back and the front match up. Okay, you notice that even though you don't match it up, they sometimes are nice enough to give you the right result. Okay, this is because browsers have been designed in such a way that in case you don't make the right thing, they will still recover your error, you know. Okay, but having said that, we shouldn't rely on this. We should try to make sure that everything is correct. So we'll try to make this a H2, and then very quickly, I'll just finish up this one so that we can go to the next part. Okay, so you can see that now we are done with the first portion, right? So this now looks like the picture that I just showed you. Okay. Okay, hopefully this usually I take some time to check if everybody's done, but interest of time, unfortunately, I had to just move on. Okay, so this is the next slide. Okay, so the next slide, what you're going to do is you're going to do something called a list. Okay, so right, so let's take a look. This is the example of a list, right? This is the example. You can see that, okay, let's look at this list item. A list item looks like this. So maybe I just highlight it in a block like this. Okay, so this is a list item. Okay, so again, you can clearly see that this is the start tag, this is the end tag. Right? It's the end one because it has the slash behind as well. Okay. Okay, but for these two, you notice they are slightly different. Like for example, this OL one, right? The OL starts here, but it ends here. Okay, so what does this mean? Remember, let's take a look at this. This is the middle part of the OL, right? So this is conceivably the part that also represents the content. So remember what we did previously was, maybe I just very quickly type a quick one here. Then we type the middle part of our tag is considered the content, like our H1 here, as this example shows. Okay, so this is actually the content for the OL tag. So what we need to do is we need to actually make this one nest inside. So we have to make sure that the OL surround the content itself. So we cannot interchange, for example, this two, like if I interchange this one and this one, all right, something is going to go wrong. Okay, so with that in mind, let's move on to the next one, and let's try to do this part of the website. So we want either this heading, as you can see here, this heading, or this heading. So this heading is on the left-hand side is, if you can guess. Okay, so just now I forgot to mention, there's this OL and UL. So OL stands for ordered list, and UL stands for unordered list. So by looking at this, you can tell that this must be the right-hand side is the ordered version because there are numbers here, right? They come with numbers. But this one is unordered because they don't come with numbers. They're just bullet points. Okay, so maybe okay, in the interest of time, I'm going to skip this exercise, okay? All right, so if you are yeah, because I don't have too much time to do with this one. So if you have time, you can try and do it yourself. Again, what you can do is you can reference the cheat sheet and look at this. You can see this is the example, and you can try and move forward with this for step 2. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to show you the answer here. Okay. So what you're going to do is we're going to put each one in LI. All right, like this. Oops, sorry. So this is a LI like this. Okay. And this is at the back. And this is, let's just use the UL as well as this UL behind, like this. Okay, so sorry, let me just clear my drawings. Okay, so if you scroll down, you can see that now this is a unordered list. If I want the ordered list, all I have to do is change this to an O and wait a while they refresh. And you can see now they are all numbered. Okay, so let's continue. Okay, so this is adding hyperlinks. Okay, hyperlinks are the official name for the things that you click and they bring you somewhere else, right? So those links that are clickable, right? So what happens is, in our case, we call this an anchor, all right? So that's why we use the letter A to really remember. We're lazy to type. Programmers are pretty lazy. So why is this an anchor? Because we anchor the tag, the link, so that it actually brings us to another page. Okay. So if you try this, for example, okay, let me just quickly show you. If you went to this one and you just typed, for example, Amazon, okay, you will see that you get a Amazon link. Okay. Sorry, yeah. Nowadays, browsers change the way they represent things. Okay, so you can see that this is a clickable link, right? That looks like this here. Okay, but the question is, where does this link go? Some of you might say this is supposed to go to Amazon, but this is not really fair because there's nothing in this link that tells you which is the Amazon website. Does it go to the local Amazon one or it goes to the global Amazon one? You have no idea, right? So what happens here is that we are missing some pieces of information. So if you look at the next slide, we can see that we can add something called an attribute. Attributes are additional information that we add to the element. So they appear in the opening tag of the element. So you can see that this is done here in the opening tag. Okay, so this whole thing you're looking at is considered an attribute. Okay, it exists inside the opening tag, which is this bigger thing that you just see here. Okay, it's divided into two parts. All right, there is a name and a value. So what is the name? The name is this href and the value is this green color. All right, so you can see the corresponding ones and they're separated by this equal sign. Okay, so the two parts, the first part is the type of information, the kind of extra information you're supplying. The value is the information for the attribute. Okay, so you can't randomly put attributes. They only work in certain places. All right, so in this case, this href attribute basically says that when you click this link, you're going to go to Amazon. Okay, so let me skip this. Okay, and okay, I think since I already did it, I'll just again skip this exercise. So you're supposed to go to this awesome website, right? Which is actually step 3 here. So you can see that all you have to do is you just need to take this link, put this here, and put the link behind as well. Oops, forgot the additional arrow. Then we want to go to this website. We just need to put this website inside the place to go to, which is here. All right, so now this would actually allow us to visit an awesome website. I won't click it because I'll leave this page though. Okay. Okay, right. So moving on. So we have this thing called an image tag. Okay. So images also require attributes because images don't live inside your HTML. Okay, so HTML isn't like your Word document. In your Word document, you can just take the whole image and copy and paste and dump the image there and you will actually appear. Okay. Usually your image is residing somewhere else. All right. So you need to code in such a way to tell them where to retrieve the image from. Okay. So as you can see here, this example needs the attribute. So this is the name of the attribute. This is the image. Where does it come from? Okay, you also notice there's an alternative one here. So this attribute at the back is the same as well. This is alternate, and this is the value, right? Just like the front, the name of the attribute is called source, SRC, right? And the value is where the kitten is. This is alternate, and this is where is the text that you see. Okay, so what's the point of the alternate one? All right, okay, I mean, most of us are quite privileged, okay? Or right, you must understand that some people they are visually impaired, but they still want to browse the web. So when they browse the web, they use something called a screen reader to read for them what the web page does. And when they look at it, they will not be able to see that this is a picture of a kitten. So what would they do? this part here, the part behind here, actually helps the screen reader to tell them that this is actually a picture of a kitten. Okay, there's another use for it, okay, which I will just, okay, so unfortunately I don't have time to let you try this too much. I'll just show you this here. So this one is, okay, let's say if I take this image, I put the source, and I will put the alternate. Okay, so let's say this is cat. Okay, so if you see down here, right, I think some of you have seen this before, right? This is the broken image tag, right? That means the image is not there, right? Because I didn't put an image here, right? So, but you actually see the alternate text. So this is the other use of this. So if the image doesn't load, at least you'll be able to see this alternate text appear down here. Okay. Okay, but having said that, we really want the image. So I'm just going to copy and paste this one and get this inside. And hopefully you should be able to see an image appear after this. Yeah, so we have that pizza cat, right? Okay, so just one last quick point. In addition to visually impaired people, you must understand that search engines like Google also search the web, and they use this to help you figure out what your website is about. Okay. Okay. Usually at this point, I'll let you do a lab, but again, because we are constrained in time, I'm going to skip this lab and let me just move on to CSS. Okay. Okay. And at this point, this page looks somewhat all right, okay, but it looks like, you know, something before 2000, like 1980s or 1990s, right? Then the website looks like this, right? If you have been around that long, okay. So let's try to make this prettier using CSS. How does it work? Let's take a look at this slide. Okay, this is what we have been writing, right? But we want this to look like this. So how do we do this? This is what we have to do. We have to use CSS to take this in the HTML in combination with our CSS to produce this effect. So HTML is the bones, right? So CSS is the skin. You are trying to use the CSS to describe how elements should look like. Okay, I'll go to the next slide in a while, but if you can clearly see, this is telling them that this needs to be a red color. That's why you can see that it's red. And this is affecting this tag, okay? Okay, so let me just go to the next slide where I have a more preferred explanation. Okay, so a CSS is defined by a selector, all right? So this is the selector that we saw just now, right? This selector, this means affects the p text. Then this one that we have here is exactly the same as what we saw just now for the attributes. They look very similar, all right? Except that there is no, instead of an equal sign, it is a colon instead. Right? So instead of an equal sign, this is a colon. Okay, you can't randomly write stuff here, all right? You'll notice that for most of us, this color is very jarring, right? Because this is spelled without the U, right? Because we are all learning the British way of spelling versus the American way of spelling. But because CSS is created in America, so the standard has been that there is no U, right? You have to name it this way, then it works, all right? Same for this one. So font size basically tells you how big the font is, as well as the font style tells you what type of font it is, okay? So I'm sure most of you use Microsoft Word. So you know that you can use Microsoft Word to go to the toolbar and choose the right options, right? So that's what you're doing. In HTML and CSS, what we have to do is we have to instruct the computer in the same way. But what we have to do is that we have to write the right things, okay? So in Microsoft Word, it's very easy because you can just click the link, right? So if you see the italics thing, you just click it and then your text becomes italics. But in our case, we have to know that this is the right thing to write. We have to write the font style and the right italics, all right? Okay, so let's try to do this, okay? Because I really want to give you at least one of each. So we did one for HTML. Let's do one for CSS as well, okay? So let's go on to the next page, okay? And let's try this, okay? Okay, so we are going to go back to this one. Okay, we're going to use the same one. We're not going to use the same one, but now we want the CSS, right? So what we want to do is we need to pull this back out, okay, so that we can type stuff here, okay? You can close this if you don't want to, because we're not going to change the HTML. We're just going to change a bit of the CSS, okay? So if you need more space, you can just transfer over, okay? So let's just try, okay? So if you got the if you can, could you just type this one, both of this into that portion, so this one as well as this one into that portion, and then you can see what happens. Okay, maybe I'll just give you a minute while I take some time to answer questions, okay? Oh, okay. So a quick one. So the colors. Sorry, before I forget. Okay, usually at this point, okay. You don't have to memorize the number code. So okay, I forgot to mention colors are actually described as number codes. Okay, if you just Google very quickly, right? HTML or CSS color codes, right? Right, you will get the names of the colors like these, right? As well as the corresponding codes as well. And if you want to, you can come here and just basically choose a color, and they will tell you what is the code somewhere. Yeah, like this, right? So if you, let's say you want this cut shade, you need this set of alphabets. Okay, I'll just paste this link into chat, okay, in case anybody. Okay. Right. Okay, so very quickly, so for example, you can say body is color is equal to green, right? Right, so now color means the text color, all right? If you want the background color, this is actually a different one. So it's actually background color like this. So then the background color is green. You can affect both at the same time. So for example, you can do P and do color is pink. Right, so now all my text is pink. But not the headers, right? The headers are not pink because I'm using the P to transform this. Okay. Okay, let me just continue this very quickly. Okay, yeah, so that's how it looks like. Okay, so very quickly, I will just show you that there is, the cheat sheet will also show you as well, there are different types of things that we can affect. We can affect both the alignment, the spacing, the weight, whether is it a bold or regular or italics, etc. Right? So unfortunately, usually I'll give you some time to do this, but we don't have that much time, so I'm going to skip this. Okay, and that's how we do this. Okay. Okay. This part here is about fonts. Okay. I don't know how many of you work with different operating systems. So I'm on a Mac, all right? So the fonts that I have versus a Windows machine is totally different. So there must be a way that we can specify this, right? So this is the way that we can do this. But your machine also needs that particular font as well. So that is why we need something like Google Fonts that allows us to actually add the fonts in no matter what machine you're actually using. Okay. Normally I'll show a demonstration for this, okay, but unfortunately I don't have too much time. But the answer is coded here. So you can see that this code here basically goes to the Google website and loads this font called Leto and Railway. So that's why the fonts look like this. So now if I search, if I go back very quickly and you see this, right? So I can set the font family. So what I can do here is I can set the font family, all right, to Leto, I think. Yeah, so you notice the font changed, right? And I can also set this font family to, oops. family to railway, right? Since that's the other one that they have. Sorry, not a font expert. Yeah, so you can see that that's how we can change this. Okay. Right, so you will get a nicer looking website. And usually at this point, I would also show you a lab as well. Okay. Okay. Right. So I don't know how many of you tried, but if you tried, you'll realize that it's very easy to write the wrong thing. All right. It's very easy to break your code. You know, for example, if you came here and instead of writing this, you choose to write color like this, and then you realize it's not green anymore, right? And it's all because you just added a U. Or if you forgot this semicolon, right? Then some things don't work as well. All right. So it is much better if you follow the standards and make sure that everything is correct, then you can get the results that you want. Okay. Okay, so there are a lot of resources that I let you that we will share with you all next time. All right. But you can search for yourself in the W3 Schools or the CSS Tricks website, right? But remember to Google using the thing you're looking for, either HTML or CSS. Okay. Okay. Right. So hopefully you actually managed to do something with HTML and CSS. Okay. Like I said, normally this will be a longer lecture, but because I'm constrained in 1 hour versus 2 hours, I don't have enough time to give you to practice. Okay. So let me just do a few next steps for 1-2 minutes. Okay. So what is the role that is right for you? Okay. If you're starting on a field, usually you'll hear these terms: a front-end developer, a back-end developer, or a full-stack developer. Okay. Okay, so this is the overview of what they are. So what you're doing is more a front-end type. You're basically changing how the website looks like. If you are very interested in this, or you're interested in design, then probably this is more what you would like to do, right? So if you're a UX person, you probably like to be a front-end developer. If you're more logical inclined, or you want to work with logic and stuff behind, then you will probably do this as a backend. Nowadays, it's very common for somebody to be a full-stack developer, which means he does both the front and the back. Okay. Okay, I think Hong has also mentioned there are different courses as well available. All right, I think if you have any questions about the courses, do just put them into the chat or in the Q&A, then we will just post the information to you. All right. Okay, normally you have feedback here, but since it's ours, any other questions, you can just post them. Otherwise, I think we are done with this.
Thank you, Simon. So ladies and gentlemen, before the session ends, please scan the QR code and provide your feedback or comments on the webinar. And lastly, I would like to share with you about our skills and training advisory service. If you're not sure how to get started on your upskilling journey, you can sign up for our free one-to-one skills and training advisory session, where a skills ambassador will guide you in understanding your career goals and provide suitable course recommendations. Simply scan on the QR code and indicate SFMX Smart Nation in the mandatory field, how do you hear about us, at the bottom of the registration form. Our skills ambassadors will contact you within 2 to 3 working days. We've come to the end of the seminar, and we hope you have gained important insights from our speaker. Thank you, and hope to see you in our other sessions.